We begin with politics, where River State Governor Siminalayi Fubara has assured residents of good governance. This comes after the governor and his deputy Ngozi Odu resumed office after the suspension placed on them by President Tinubu was lifted on Wednesday. Joining us to discuss this is legal practitioner Towo Osariwoja. Hello, Mr. Towo, are you with us?
Yes, I'm with you. Good afternoon.
All right, so let me get your opinion on this situation that we're seeing in River State. Do you think that this could start a trend for other states to follow suit? What are your thoughts?
Well, if you ask my thoughts about River State, the event that happened in River State, I'll tell you, if you are conversant with history, you discover that River State has been one of the states that has trend in all aspects of our governance, down to even from the military regime. You talk about Kensaroiwa, the event that occurred happens in River State. When you talk about when we moved into the democratic era, if you look at River State is one of the states that paved way for the amendment of the Electoral Act after the events that happened. They happened in 2007 between Amechi Wike and Celestine. Celestine were over the PDP primaries. Then if you also look at it, it's also in River State, we discovered that a former governor, a court issued a perpetual injunction to all security agencies and investigating agencies for investigating a former governor in River State. Then come again back to River State. It's also in River State, we also heard that a state of emergency was declared, and the state governor, the House of Assembly were suspended. Members of the House of Assembly were suspended, and even the sitting governor was also suspended. And that state of emergency lasts for 6 months. So if you look at all these events, it may not likely pave way for such events to happen in other states, because I'll tell you, as a matter of fact, within this period of 6 months of that state of emergency, and even before the emergency, there have been several political unrest between political godfathers or leaders and governors. They made governors. A good example in Lagos State, you saw what happened in Lagos State, that even it was within the public domain that the president and the governor, Sanwo-Olu, was not in talking terms. A state of emergency was not declared there. You look at Kano State, when the Emirate Council issue came up, it was really a political unrest and a social unrest in the state. A state of emergency was not declared there. In Benue State, it's still ongoing between the governor, a cold war between the governor and the secretary to the government of the federation. It's a state of emergency was not declared there. So it's just a matter of, we should look at River State as a state, that we need to study and see the reason behind all these illegal activities or political uncertainty that result to abuse of power and abuse of institution.
All right, so tell us, what challenges do you foresee in rebuilding executive-legislative collaboration in River State, especially with 6 months of sidelined legislative input?
Well, there are a lot of challenges. There are a lot of challenges. And I'll tell you, as a matter of fact, if you see the first statement issued by the State House of Assembly, you should know that there is still underlying issues there, because they are asking the governor to submit the list of commissioners. Now the question will ask, what happens to the commissioners when the suspension was made? We are aware that some of the commissioners resigned in solidarity to their godfather, Yeso Wike, while some remained, while some were also appointed in the course of the crisis. So what now happens to those issues? Then you now look at, I think the sole administration, in quotes, presented a budget which within the comforts and the omnipotent powers of Mr. President, that is outside the constitutional provision, approve or sanction such budget. And the National House of Assembly have become a whiz caprices of endorsing whatever the president does. So what happens to this? So these are issues we need to really look at too. Let's see the names the governor is going to bring out, and let's see the attitude of the State House of Assembly towards those names. But I know that this is just like, let's reserve the war for the future events. That is what is happening in River State now.
All right, so we're seeing the governor with his return, he's exuding a lot of confidence. Now, from your own perspective, from the feeler that you got, is this a new dispensation for the governor, the assembly, as well as the FCT minister?
Well, if you, I won't say I sympathize with the governor, neither should I say I pity the governor, because he's also a product of what I think they say most times our bridge of honor or our honor is wounded by our own self-inflicted action. So the governor is a product of the system that brought in him. And as a result of his speech, when I listen to his speech, I just know that, well, obviously democracy in Rivers State has become an issue of theory, not in practical. Then also, as a matter of fact, I was expecting the turnout to be in a sober reflection. And the governor, in his own way, you could see him during the state broadcast, is in a sober mood, which reflects what would have marked such an event. Then for Nyesom Wike, after listening to his recent interview and his media outburst, I have come to the understanding that if I have opportunity of advising him, I will refer him to read this, to read or see this novel, Things Fall Apart. Obviously, in his life, I think he actually fought his way through he fought his way through the think and tune to become who he is. He cannot be attributed to be someone whose pancani has been cracked by the benevolent spirit. But you should also look at the character of Okonkwo, how he ended at that particular novel. It will really guide his utterances. Then for the House of Assembly, well, my advice to them is a shame. Over the years, the first, when you talk about military regime, the first area of target is the legislative arm of government. And that was actually what happened in Rivers State. And if they are comfortable and they are still acting to the tune and caprices of whoever that is playing the drum, I think history will never forgive them. And I believe if history is still taught in the university, in the primary school, secondary school, as at when we attended, I think what happened in Rivers State should be a focus point of history for future leaders to learn from, and also for every actors that made such a state for that 6 months, the state of emergency for that 6 months, their names should be published in the Hall of Shame, including the actions and inactions of individuals, including people of Rivers State who are now coming out to celebrate.
All right, thank you very much for your input on this conversation. That was Towo Osirawoja, legal practitioner. All right, so joining us to discuss Governor Fubara's return is a youth leader and politician, Richard Egbeloko. Hello, Mr. Richard, are you with us? Can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you clearly. I can hear you.
All right, so the governor has had his first address. In that address, he told Rivers State residents that he would continue with what he had been doing just before the suspension. Now, let me get your take on his address.
Well, thank you for having me on this interview. Well, of course, that is expected. You know, when a man is on a good journey and is doing something worthy of what the people of Rivers State are happy about, all of the projects, you can see that for the past 6 months, we're all on a stop, like I've said before, on your station, and he's coming back. He's on the right direction to continue the projects that he was on to ensure they are completed. And that's exactly what Rivers people are expected of him. Of course, you don't expect him to keep any project abandoned and to start up a fresh one. They are all mega projects. They are all projects that will help Rivers people. So they need to be completed. So the governor has spoken well in the right direction by his speech.
All right, so the House of Assembly has asked the governor to assemble his cabinet. Is the governor likely to retain his former cabinet members before his suspension? What is your take?
Well, that's subject to him. The governor is back. Like first, I told us before, we're happy that he's back, and he's back to deliver the dividend of democracy for Rivers people. And he has the sole right. He will look at what is going to work and what will not be working. He has the sole right whether to retain or to start afresh, whatever it is. But he's our governor of intellectual prowess. He knows what is good for Rivers people. And we've been patient with him on the journey. So we believe whether he's starting with the old list or he's putting up a fresh one, he knows how to pick people to deliver in different ministry. That I can assure you for that. So whichever part he comes up with, we're very okay for Rivers people.
All right, so the state has been pretty much under emergency rule since his suspension, and an administrator, pardon me. Now, what immediate steps do you think the governor should be taking to chart a new course for the state?
Well, the immediate course is just to ensure every other project that were abandoned when he was not on seat has to kickstart immediately, to ensure more infrastructural development, more human capital development. There are more needs Rivers people yearn for, and we expect he's going to, in due course or speedily, because as I speak to you, I'm sure he doesn't have much time, at the expiration of his first tenure. So I am very sure that all hands will be on deck to ensure activities will move speedily, to ensure people are get back into track, and to ensure projects are ongoing, because Rivers has the resources to concurrently put up projects that will help the life and sustainability of the people. Of course, Nigerians yearn for hunger. There are hungers everywhere. So the governor has said he's going to touch every aspect of life, every aspect of ministry, to ensure everywhere is working very well.